$1 billion, but you are permanently banned from communicating with any blood relative. Do you accept? $1 billion, tax-free, in your account by Friday morning. The only condition, you can never speak to, write to, or communicate in any way with any blood relative again. Not your mother, not your father, not your siblings, not your children. No calls, no texts, no letters, no messages pass through a third party. If you try, every cent vanishes and you owe it all back. Do you accept? Daniel Hara was 34 and owed $182,000 in student loans, credit card debt, and a medical bill his insurance only partially covered. He rented a one-bedroom apartment in Columbus, Ohio for $1,150 a month. His car had 167,000 miles on it. He earned $63,000 a year as a mid-level accountant at a regional logistics firm. He had a younger sister named Mara, a mother named Carol, and a father named Warren who had left when Daniel was 11 and sent exactly one birthday card in the 23 years since. Daniel was not a man who thought about billion-dollar windfalls. He thought about whether he could afford new brake pads this month or next. Then the letter arrived. Plain white envelope, no return address, typed on heavy cream paper. $1 billion, tax-free, wired to any account within 72 hours of signing. The condition was one sentence. The signer permanently ceases all communication with every blood relative in any form forever. No appeals, no expiration date, no exceptions for funerals, weddings, or medical emergencies. A phone number was printed at the bottom. Daniel called it. A woman answered, calm and professional, like she was scheduling a dental cleaning. She confirmed the offer was real. A representative would meet him within 24 hours. He had 72 hours to decide. He could ask one person for advice, anyone who was not a blood relative. Daniel sat at his kitchen table for 40 minutes. Then he called his best friend, Marcus. Marcus came over that evening. He read the letter 3 times, set it down, and said nothing for a long time. You're actually considering this, Marcus finally said. I owe $182,000. My mom is 61 and still working double shifts at a hospital. Mara is 28 and can't afford to live without roommates. $1 billion, Marcus. Even at a conservative 4%, that's $40 million a year in income. I could pay off my mom's mortgage. I could pay Mara's student loans. I could set them up for life. You couldn't tell them why, Marcus said. You'd just vanish. I could set up an anonymous trust. They'd think it was some grant, some inheritance from a distant relative. Your mother would think her son was dead, Daniel. That sentence hung in the room like smoke. Daniel didn't answer it. He changed the subject to the mechanics. The woman had said the ban was enforceable. How? Marcus asked. Daniel didn't know. That was the first crack in the wall, but he pushed past it. The next day, the representative arrived. A man in a gray suit, maybe 45, who looked like he sold corporate insurance. He laid out a contract, 14 pages, dense but readable. The money was held in escrow by a firm Daniel recognized from a financial news article. The firm was real. The escrow was real. The representative showed Daniel a balance statement, $1 billion sitting in an account waiting. The ban is monitored, the representative said. Phone records, digital communications, physical proximity. If you contact a blood relative, the funds are clawed back and you owe the full amount. $1 billion debt. No bankruptcy court touches it. What counts as communication? Daniel asked. Any deliberate exchange of information. A call, a text, an email, a letter, a message through a friend. If your mother calls and you pick up, that's a violation. If you let it ring, that's fine. The key word is deliberate. Daniel read the contract twice and asked for 48 hours. He spent the next 2 days in a fog. On the second night, he picked up his phone and started typing a text to Mara. Hey, how's work? He stared at the words for 3 minutes. Then he deleted them and put the phone face down. He was already practicing. That terrified him more than anything in the contract. On the third morning, he called Marcus. I think I'm going to do it, Daniel said. Daniel, I ran the numbers. $1 billion at 4% is $40 million a year. After taxes, $28 million. I could fund my mother's retirement, Mara's career, their medical bills, everything, and they'd never see you again. I see my mom maybe 6 times a year. Mara and I text once a week. The practical difference is smaller than you think. Your mother calls you on her birthday every year. Every single year. And you pick up. That's not practical, Daniel. That's the thing that keeps her going. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he said he needed one more day. That night, his mother called. Not her birthday, not a holiday. She just called. Daniel stared at the phone vibrating on the table. He let it ring. She left a voicemail. Just calling to see how you're doing, honey. Love you. 14 words. He played it 11 times. He didn't sign that night. He lay awake until 4 in the morning, doing the math again. His mother's mortgage was $94,000. Mara's student loans were $61,000. He could pay those off in a single afternoon and never feel it. But the voicemail, those 14 words. The next morning, he called the representative. If I set up an anonymous trust that pays my family, is that communication? The representative paused. A financial arrangement with no personal information is not communication under the contract. An anonymous gift is not a message. Daniel felt something unlock in his chest. He could take the money, vanish from their lives, and still care for them. He called Marcus. You're rationalizing, Marcus said. I'm solving a problem. You're solving your guilt, not their problem. Their problem is they love you and you'd be gone. Daniel signed that afternoon. Within 72 hours, his account showed $1,006,427. The 6,000 was his old savings. The billion sat underneath it, massive and immovable. He quit his job. He hired a lawyer, set up an anonymous trust, and wired $5 million into it. The trust paid his mother $12,000 a month and Mara $8,000 a month indefinitely with no sender information. The lawyer said it looked like a class action settlement. It was untraceable. For 3 weeks, everything worked clean. Daniel moved into a penthouse he bought for $4,200,000 downtown. He ate at restaurants he used to walk past. He slept 10 hours a night for the first time in his adult life. Then his mother called. He let it ring. She left a voicemail. Daniel, I got some strange money in my account. I don't know what it is. I'm worried someone made a mistake and I'll have to pay it back. Can you call me? Please? He played it 9 times. He couldn't call her. He couldn't tell her it was him, that she was safe, that she'd never have to work another double shift. Mara called the next day. He let it ring. She didn't leave a message. A week later, Daniel checked the trust. His mother hadn't touched a cent. She thought it was an error or a scam. Mara had spent a little, but hired a lawyer to trace it. There was nothing to trace. Daniel sat in his penthouse at a dining table he'd bought for 6, alone, and realized something the contract never spelled out but was true anyway. The ban wasn't just on communication. It was on reassurance. He could give them everything, but never tell them it was okay. He could fund their lives, but never hear his mother say she was proud. Never hear Mara laugh at a joke only they understood. He had $995 million left and no one to share a meal with. Over the following months, Daniel discovered something the ultra-wealthy have known for generations. Money without connection doesn't compound. It corrodes. He met other wealthy people at building events and charity galas. Several had estranged families, children who wouldn't speak to them. They had yachts and estates and second homes in places Daniel had never been. They were the loneliest people he had ever met. One man, a retired tech founder worth $600 million, told him over scotch, I spent 30 years building something I thought would make my family proud. By the time I finished, I didn't have a family to show it to. Not because they died, because I stopped showing up. Daniel understood then that the deal had never been about money. It was about a question every person faces in some form. What is a relationship worth? His mother's phone calls, his sister's texts, the random voicemails that said nothing important and meant everything. He had traded those for a number with 9 zeros, and the number was sitting in an account growing at 4% a year, feeding on nothing. He still couldn't call. The contract was permanent. The money was permanent. The silence was permanent. So here's the question, and I want you to sit with it. $1 billion, tax-free, in your account by Friday. You never speak to any blood relative again. You can give them money anonymously, but you can never tell them why you left, that you love them, or that you're okay. They will wonder where you went. Some will assume the worst. You will watch from a distance, behind glass, with more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes. Are you taking the deal?